Hey everybody, welcome back. Wayne here. This week we're going to talk about we're not going to spend a ton of time on the other person, on the affair partner. I don't think it's wise to do that, to spend too much time, to give them too much real estate in your own mind about who they are and what they're all about. Because I have clients all the time that will stalk them on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and it just prolongs your healing. But there are some things you do need to know and that you do need to understand about the affair partner, and then you need to move on. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But before we get started, I want to give a little disclaimer. This could be a really difficult video for some of you. And before listening, I want you to take a moment just to consider how far along you are in this recovery journey. There are those who are newer to recovery, and it might be really hard to hear or difficult to process some of the information I'm going to talk about. This information is important to understand, but the last thing in the world that I want to do is to cause or create some unnecessary pain. My suggestion is to wait until you're further along in this journey, in the recovery journey, so that you'll be able to maybe absorb the information a little better. And for those of you in this position, I suggest listening to the 6-part How Could You series that I recorded just a few months ago. That might be more helpful. So who is this other person? Are they a homewrecker or a gold digger or a coward? Are they to be pitied or hated? And why would you even want to know about this other person? These are all big questions. And again, I just want to caution you up front not to give the affair partner too much real estate in your own mind. It can be really damaging if you do that. But the answer to those questions can also profoundly influence your ability to release what's happened and then to move on. But many people run from these questions and others. But what I hope is that you'll be brave, courageous, respectful to yourself and your spouse, kind, and have these painful but meaningful conversations that you need to eventually put the infidelity behind you. I want to be clear too that there's never an excuse or a justification for what your spouse and this other person have done. However, remaining tied to the affair partner and their actions as a result of unforgiveness leaves you, the betrayed spouse, anchored to the past. And then it creates this opportunity to remain stuck in this sometimes victim mentality. You know, one of the tasks of moving forward, either as a couple or as an individual, requires a shift in how the other person is viewed. And you do this by developing a realistic understanding of who they are. Usually, the unfaithful spouse needs to stop overvaluing the affair partner, and the betrayed spouse needs to stop devaluing him or her. If either of you ever wants to find freedom, you'll have to do those things. And hopefully understand a bit about who they are will enable both the hurt and the unfaithful spouse to release them and to move forward, hopefully as a couple. Labeling the affair partner with any derogatory term or sometimes expletive may prevent the betrayed spouse from ever moving forward. I've seen people get stuck in this for years. And in the same way, the affair partner is likely to label the spouse as either cold or dismissive or sometimes even abusive, many other things too. In reality, the truth is there's a bit of good in the worst of us and a bit of bad in the best of us. And failure to see more than just the negative aspects can block your ability to set yourself free from their hurtful actions. And seeing the other person as human doesn't excuse what they've done. Never does it do that. But it does provide a pathway to forgiveness. Remember, we say this all the time, forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself to set yourself free. It is not for the sake of the unfaithful spouse, but it does free you from losing your peace when they do come to mind, when you have a reminder or a trigger. One of the major barriers to recovery for the betrayed spouse is this unrealistic view of the other person. While it is incredibly challenging, and it is challenging, the need to develop an understanding of the affair partner as a human being, if you want to fully recover, that's a huge task. For married men in an affair with a married woman, the affair can be more of a diversion, while for the married woman, it can become their life. This woman is sometimes looking for traits missing in herself or missing in her husband. And sometimes married men in affairs with single women are more likely to view it as entertainment or a distraction. And I want to say a word about distraction too, because it's not always a distraction from you, the betrayed spouse. It could be a distraction from the pressures at work. That's key, because I see that a lot. The pressures of leading an organization and the financial pressures, especially in this age of a pandemic. I've seen several men have affairs with single women, and it had nothing to do with you, but it was a distraction from their work. Single women, on the other hand, may view the affair as a pathway to the life that they've dreamed of or that they wanted. And little do they realize, though, that the odds are not in their favor. There have been many studies, but Jan Halper surveyed 4,000 successful businessmen and revealed that 85% of those who had affairs ended up returning to their home and to their families, and only 3% of those got a divorce while in an ongoing affair. Leslie and I were talking a few days ago, and we agreed that we have yet to see a truly confident person have an affair. I mean, a really confident person. And you see a lot of people that look confident on the outside, but a lot of times it can be posturing or bravado. It can look good and authentic, but here's what we know. If they are truly a confident person, they're not happy in their marriage or with their circumstances of life, they're going to talk about it. Especially they're going to talk about it with their spouse, I hope. They'll have some self-awareness, some agency, and they're not going to be running away from themselves or from their problems or from their issues. You know, some affair partners are consciously manipulating the other person because they see something that they want. There are people who may begin to develop a relationship at work or the workplace and not have any good self-awareness or good boundaries, and they end up having affairs. There are people who are looking to try to save or rescue someone. And then there are people who are looking for, a distraction or some validation. And then there are some that feel entitled. Men and women do that. One of the big differences between how a male affair partner and a female affair partner approaches an affair, they're trying to get their hook into the other person, if you will. And whether they're consciously aware of it or not, men tend to groom their affair partners emotionally, and women tend to do it sexually. Because think about this, if a woman is trying to get a man's attention, it's going to be more effective if they go at it sexually, or sometimes stroke their ego by acknowledging how wonderful they are, how successful they are, stuff like that. Men tend to go at it more emotionally by saying something like, "You are such an amazing woman. You're so beautiful. You have such a good, beautiful heart." Either way, it is very important to understand that people who have affairs are wounded people. I can't say that clearly enough. They're wounded people, period. Whether you're married to them or the affair partner, they're wounded. And the truth is that we are all wounded at some place in our lives. We've all experienced some wounds. I want to say again that the last thing I want is the betrayed spouse is to over-focus on the affair partner. It will not help you. And let me also reiterate, I'm in no way trying to excuse your spouse or the affair partner. And I'm also not saying that you have to change a thing in how you view or think about the other person. I am just suggesting that you might want to consider the possibility that the situation it's not truly as black and white as you might think. And my hope for all of you is to get free from this bone-crushing, life-robbing crisis of the infidelity. I believe that one way to get that goal accomplished is by expanding our understanding of those around us and truly, hopefully, come to a point where we can set ourselves free by finding compassion and understanding and then forgiveness for those who have so grossly wounded you. Anytime we suffer, one of three things will happen. You will go insane, or you'll become bitter and resentful. And third, you'll learn to love greatly and have great compassion for others and for yourself. The road to that third outcome isn't easy and it takes time, but it's a goal well worth pursuing. For the sake of others, remember that pain that's not transformed will be transmitted. Have the courage to allow your pain to be transformed for the sake of yourself and for those around you and for the sake of those that you love and for those who love you. If you are still having trouble with the idea of pain leading you to love greatly, you're not alone. And I know it seems backwards, and I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't experienced it myself and seen it hundreds, maybe even thousands of times over the years. The trick is having community to walk with you through this process. If you'd like to see if it's truly possible to be free again, to love again, to be compassionate again, consider joining a Harboring Hope group where we not only seek to help the betrayed spouses, but also transform their pain into something that's more life-giving and renewing. And you also find a life for your marriage as well. You can find all the details on the Affair Recovery website under the Programs tab. Those are just my thoughts on who this other person is. It's a broad brushstroke. There's not a whole lot written about it because I think what we want is for you to focus on you and your healing and your relationship with your spouse, not on this other person. So take that into consideration. I hope it starts some good conversation between you and your spouse. So thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again next week. Have a good week and stay healthy and safe. Thanks so much.